Food and Wine Insider is a weekly look at a $1.5 trillion industry touching every American. Devoted to the business of purveying food and decanting wines, Food and Wine Radio is a unique program highlighting not food recipes or wine vintages, but how to make a profit while satisfying America's palates. Each week, your co-hosts sit down with successful restaurateurs, food mavens, winery vintners, store owners, food suppliers, and other leaders in the worldwide industry that centers on foodstuff and wine. In frank give-and-take sessions, guests and panelists talk about the business of bringing healthy and pleasurable foods and wines to others. Your Food and Wine Radio hosts are Ann Daw, former president of the Specialty Food Association and a longtime food executive who has held senior positions both here and abroad with Kraft Foods and Philip Morris. Don Mazzella, a nationally known business commentator. On each show, they invite leaders of the world's culinary and wine industries to share the secrets of their success. Visit us at foodandwineinsider.com.
And Rohan Duggal is owner of Columbia Wine Company in New York City. He's here to discuss how to stay competitive as a small business owner and how to just stay competitive in the food and wine industry. Rohan, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to go right into it and let Ann take over from here.
Okay, thank you, Don. Hi, Rohan. Welcome to Food and Wine Insider. I understand Columbia Wine Company opened its doors on 170th Street and Broadway in 2008, but you took over in 2013. I would love for you to talk about what you were doing before this venture.
Well, I've been in the wine retail business for, 12 or 13 years now. Before I was the owner of Columbia Wine Company, I was working at a wine shop that was owned by my father. So I was running that shop. I did that for, I want to say, 5 or 6 years. Got my feet wet there, and then decided that, I had enough experience to start my own shop.
Wonderful. And what was your vision to change what the store does in terms of educating consumers about wine and spirits? Can you take us a little bit through that journey?
When I first took over the shop, my vision was very similar to the previous owner, which is to kind of give them a very high value experience in the sense of, the individuals in that neighborhood aren't used to like a white glove treatment, something that you probably get in like Tribeca. And that was kind of the same strategy I wanted to use there, which is to have everything customer friendly, very wine knowledgeable staff members, and have some of the best products available that would introduce people that haven't tried these wines before to some good stuff.
And when you talk with millennials about wine, is it different than how you talk about it with other generations? And if so, how is it different?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I think millennials, well, there are two kinds of millennials in my eyes, when it comes to wine anyway. There's one that has no clue about wines, and they're pretty much just buying alcohol to kind of release some type of stress. So they're looking probably for the cheapest product available. And then there's the other part, which believes that they know what they want and what's good, and they don't necessarily want your help because they've already come in with a preconceived notion of what it is that they're looking for and what they're going to get. So I definitely think it's a lot harder to communicate with them as far as making sure that they're getting the right wine possible for their for whatever their occasion may be. I think someone that has been drinking wine for 20 or 30 years or is, more of an enthusiast, they're more willing to, listen to your recommendations and talk to you a little bit more about the wines, and they care about the story behind it as well.
So, if a millennial walks into your shop, what kind of questions do you engage them in to kind of understand where their palate is?
Well, for me, it doesn't really matter who it is. I kind of first ask them, what's the occasion pretty much. And I try to get an idea of if they're pairing this with food or is this something that they're going to have on its own. And then once I get a better understanding of what they plan on doing with the wine, I can probably lead them in a direction that's best suited for them. Somebody that's a millennial, I'm across the street from Columbia University, and people from the dental program come to my shop. And, after dealing with them for so long, for me, when I look at them, I know that they're looking for a product that's got good value juice, but is also moderately priced. So, for me, it's figuring out for them their range, how much they're willing to spend, and then obviously from there, plan on doing with the wine, being able to determine that.
Right. With the new minimum wage being at $15 or so, how do you need to be innovative to continue to serve your guests but not pass on the pricing to them?
Well, I would say that it requires a lot of interesting stuff. I can't necessarily bring in the same products that I used to. Some of it I can. Obviously, I'm very now particular about what products I bring in. Like in the past, I might have taken a flyer on a wine that I thought was good, but may not necessarily move right away. Now I'm more precise with my budget, and the way I buy is I'm looking. My strategy is to have a lot of variety in the shop. So for me, it's just being able to fill out my shop. And, in the wine industry, if you buy more cases at a bigger company, typically it leads to a higher discount. So for me, it's not about necessarily getting that discount, that top value discount any longer. It's more about filling out my shelves and what's my end goal in the pricing, for the customer. And to be honest, some of my prices have gone up because of the minimum wage law going up to $15 an hour, and I've changed a lot of business practices that I've done. In the past, I've had a bookkeeper on, a marketing manager on staff, and now I'm using third-party platforms for that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I would think this is the case, but I don't know, so I wanted to ask. In your business, how important is a regular clientele, people who come in frequently?
I mean, it's very important. I think those are the customers that you kind of wake up every day for. They're the ones that are not only providing for myself but for the people that work at the shop. And I mean, when they come into the shop, they're genuinely excited about it. They love to learn. They love to talk. They even become very friendly with the staff there to the point where they know about their personal lives. And to me, that's very important to make sure that they're very happy. And right now, with the way the market's kind of set up, people are more willing to switch to your competitors more than ever now. So for me, it's always trying to make sure that my group of customers are very happy.
Yeah. And I know where you're physically located, but what really is your neighborhood, the area that you serve on a regular basis? How would you describe that?
I mean, you could call it Washington Heights. You could call it Inglewood. It's the uptown area. I would say that it's an eclectic group of individuals. It's a lot of older people, like people that are retiring. There are people that work in the city that live also like uptown over there because it's affordable. You have people that have been living in that community for like 50, 60 years. So it's a mixed bag up there, and they're all really nice people. I really love the neighborhood itself. You got great views of the GW Bridge, and it's a really nice atmosphere. It kind of makes you feel like you're outside of the city, even though technically you're still in the city.
Right. And how significant are online sales to your business? And if so, is it growing?
Yeah, I would say it's a big part of my business now. I would say it probably incorporates 35% of my sales. It's definitely growing, and it's one of those pieces that is really affecting me because the minimum wage law, with that going up, the wages of like the people doing these deliveries, that wages also increased dramatically, and that has made doing these deliveries a lot more expensive. So for me to go and deliver a bag of wine 20 blocks away, the guy that's doing the delivery might be gone 45 minutes, potentially, depending on where he's going. And that could be like, $12 right there. That's the delivery fee pretty much, is his time when he could have been at my shop doing other work. He went and did that delivery. So that delivery fee, $12, it might take away from the entire sale to begin with. So it's become a lot trickier to do these deliveries.
Now, the online sales tend to be more localized, or are you shipping, out of the state, or, how are people finding you online?
Well, people are doing their research nowadays. I would say that they it's everything I do is very local. So I deliver probably as far as to I deliver throughout the entire city, but I barely get any orders into the middle of the city. It's like as high as like 120th Street. I usually get orders. And people, I would say they research us maybe through Yelp, or they Google like wine shop near me, stuff like that.
Okay.
They probably find us. And I mean, we're on third-party platforms as well that provide us with an audience that we may never have gotten before, or maybe we're our customers and now they're ordering off that. So we're on different platforms that give us orders, and I'm sure people are Googling about us.
So when you say third-party platforms, like what are you referring to?
Like delivery.com, for instance. We're on there, and they, if you place an order for wine in Washington Heights, you're probably getting it from our shop. So that's like one example.
Yeah, and you were talking about your gaps and it mainly being consumers. What about with restaurants? Because obviously there's a lot of restaurants in New York. Do you do any business with restaurants or food service or hotels or?
Well, no. By law, I don't think we're allowed to sell to like a restaurant, for instance. They have to go through their own supplier. And if a hotel, we don't really have a lot of hotels in Washington Heights. There's one called the Edge Hotel, and they do recommend that their customers come and shop from us, but they don't really personally buy from us.
Okay. You have had the business since 2013. What has surprised you the most, and maybe what was a significant pain point for managing the business?
I would say that the staffing part is really difficult, I would say. It's really difficult to find, a good group of people to work with, in the sense of like they want to stay there for a long duration of time, and they're really reliable individuals. I've had some good groups of people come through the shop, but they don't last that long, and I think it's just the nature of being in retail, You know, at the end of the day, there's only so much money that you can make in a wine shop in New York. So it's really hard to keep really good staff at the shop. And it requires a lot more time on my hands to make sure everything is running smoothly.
So how long would you say people tend to stay in the business before they do move on?
You know, I'm not sure exactly how it all works in that regard. I would say that, you know, at my shop, you know, if they're strong people, they stay with me for a year or two for sure. But, you know, if they weren't strong to begin with, it's a tough environment, this shop, because, you know, we're selling like maybe 5,000, 4,000 bottles a month. So to replenish that, to staff, to manage the staff, there's a lot going on. It's not an easy shop to run, to be honest. I'm not exactly sure what happens to those individuals that leave the shop because they can't deal with all that pressure. I would think that, you know, to be honest, I think they probably find a job that's a lot less hectic. And I mean, maybe they're still in the wine business, maybe they're not. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest.
And how about for you? Are you in the shop every day?
Well, I was in the shop every day. Recently, I've started some other businesses that has required my attention. I'm lucky to have like a really good group of people there right now that are able to man the shop every day. I do go in there at least a couple times a week, and I am obviously paying attention every day, being able to log in and see like how much money we made, look at like what bottles we're moving, give my input on the buying of the shop. So, you know, as of right now, I'm not really operating full time there, but I am keeping my eyes and ears open to it.
Okay. And what has been your proudest moment to date?
My proudest? For the shop, you mean, right?
Or just for being in business?
I think it's, you know, for me, that's a pretty interesting question. I think it's, you know, right now I've started a new company, and you know, it's required a lot of my time, but it's also required me to change a lot about myself from a business standpoint. I'm doing things that I probably didn't think I was capable of doing, and I'm accomplishing things that I didn't think was necessarily able to be accomplished. Most recently, you know, this new business of mine requires me to go into businesses and basically I'm selling them a service to them. And I got a global company recently to be one of my partners, and it was, you know, that was an incredible moment for me. I thought that was like a big moment.
Terrific. You know, shifting gears just a little bit, do you think that Amazon, for instance, will grow in wine sales given their acquisition of Whole Foods? Now, they shut down their Amazon Winer at the end of 2017, but they still offer wine through Amazon Fresh and Prime and Whole Foods. What do you think? What role they're going to play in the wine business?
I think they're going to be wine merchants for sure. I definitely think they will be. I think you know, Whole Foods already has liquor licenses in other states. They don't have it in New York, but I think, you know, all it requires is Jeff Bezos to decide he wants to be in the wine business, and boom, he'll be in the wine business. It's not, you know, that's how simple it can be. So I think if he wants to do it, he'll do it, and it'll, you know, obviously it'll rock the entire industry. So I definitely see that happening for sure.
And what do you think you need to do to try to continue to be successful in the face of an Amazon?
I would say that, you know, it requires me to make sure that the customers I already have are engaged, happy, have personal relationships with the people at the shop. And I think, you know, I can't beat Amazon, obviously, in pricing. I'm pretty sure, at some point he's going to have like every single wine you can think of on Amazon to buy. So, I mean, the only real differentiator is going to be the delivery part. So, with Amazon Prime, you can get product, same day, but, with my wine shop, you can get it in the same hour potentially. So that'd probably be like my biggest key to keeping my customers, pushing the online portal and making sure my deliveries are there within an hour.
Yeah. Don, do you have any questions for Rohan?
Yes, I do. I've been listening to this fascinating conversation, and my question is, what made you decide to go into this business?
I mean, to be honest, it was by accident. To be honest, I came out of college. In like 2007, and it was like right around the time period where the whole real estate market crashed, and I was trying to initially get into real estate. I wanted to get in on the development side. That's where I saw my life heading, and I worked for a company that was building a building, and then this development, then the real estate market crashed, and obviously that building just, was no longer being built, which, put me out of a job pretty much. And, my father just started a wine shop, and he was like, why don't you just come work for me? And it wasn't like something that I had planned or something I wanted to do. It was just something I did. And, to be honest, the first 3 or 4 years there, I would say the first, 3 or 4 years there, I didn't take it so seriously because it wasn't mine and it wasn't really my decision to do it. But after a while, it wasn't about the wine for me. It was more about just, all right, let me get good at something here. And, I really took it seriously because obviously I wanted my life to start in the sense of I want to be successful. I want to be able to claim my own in this universe. So how am I going to do that? And I was like, look, I have at least a playground here to play with. Let me try to make this work. So from there, I took it really seriously, and, I got lucky, and, I started like a lot of these resources started falling into place for me as far as like the right books and just like learning the right things. And, I got lucky and I got really good at what I did as far as running the wine shop goes and making it profitable because, before I didn't take it seriously, the shop wasn't really profitable. And then once I figured it out, it became very profitable. And that's what convinced me to, start my own shop as well. So really, it came down to just like an accident and just chance.
Well, let me ask you this question then. What's your liquidity event? Do you intend to hold on to this for a long time? Do you think it's something you want to create a chain? What do you want to do next?
Well, I would say that, in New York, it's set up where you can't create chains for a wine shop because you can only have one license under your name. So unfortunately, this will probably be my only shop that I have. The way people usually do it is, they'll have family members as well, stores under their names and maybe run them. That's not really my goal, to be honest. The wine business is great, but, as we were discussing earlier, I think Amazon is honestly going to become a big player in this industry in the next 10 years. And it's going to be a big problem because, they have more cash than anybody, and they could pretty much sell wine at a loss, and they'd be 100% fine. Whereas if I ran all my wines at a loss, I wouldn't have a home to go to. So for me, I think it's to kind of get out of retail because at this point in time, retail has become too expensive and too difficult as a business owner. The minimum wage law going up, to the rent roll being extremely high, to the employees not being reliable from time to time. I think in the next 10 years, retail is going to take a big hit as far as who's available in it because of really the rents and the wages. And because of that, I think, right now in New York City, you're seeing a lot of vacancies in storefronts. Like everywhere you go, there's a piece of land, or not land, but like vacant space for rent. And I think it's only going to get worse. And I think as time progresses, Amazon is going to go from having like an internet home to they are going to fill those voids, in my opinion. And Amazon's going to have retail shops, in my opinion.
Well, speaking of Amazon, what's your website? And then I'm turning it back to Ann for two final questions.
My website is www.columbiawineco.com.
Can you spell it out?
Yeah, it's ColumbiaWineECO.com.
And back to you.
Thanks so much, Don. So what I wanted to hear from you is what advice you would give to any other entrepreneur who might be thinking about getting into the wine and the spirits retail business.
I would tell them, well, it's a beautiful business. I personally love wine. A dream of mine would to retire in Napa, just beautiful scenery, beautiful wine. But what I would tell people is, look, if you're trying to get into the wine business, it can't be about you. It can't be about what you like, what you want. It has to be about your customer. Otherwise, you're not going to make any money. If my wine shop was filled with wines, I'd like it to have all Amarones in it and like big Italian reds and California reds that are big and bold and juicy. But, I have to understand what my customer wants. And that's what it is. It's more, if you're going to do wine retail, it's more retail than wine. And if you're getting into it for the wine part, then you're already going to lose money.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Why are you saying that?
Because I've met a lot of people that really love the idea of being a wine retailer, but they don't want to do the grunt work. I mean, being a wine retailer requires you to pick up boxes. It requires you to fill in shelves. It's requiring you to, deal with vendors and placing orders and doing it very timely. It requires you to do a lot of the pretty work. So at the end of the day, people think okay, I'm going to get into the wine business. So what I'm going to do every day is I'm going to taste 15 different wines from 2-3 different vendors, and I'm going to tell them which ones I like and don't like. But if you're just doing that, then you're not really a wine retailer in my eyes. You're a guy that just likes to drink pretty much. But if you are a real wine retailer, you know exactly what your customers want. You know where your products are in your basement. You're able to pick it up. You're able to put it on the shelf yourself. You're able to tell your customers about that wine. And, you're able to kind of organize the schedule, organize where people are going. You're able to do everything. It's not just about the wine.
I liked what you said about that, which is it's not about you. It's really about your guests. And it's really about realizing you're in a retail business, and in the retail business, it's really about service. It's about, how are you making people feel like they want to come to your store and they continue to want to come to your store, and you're providing them with help and ideas that really make the experience for them pleasurable. Because if they're not getting a good experience, it won't be, they won't come back. So I think that's really great advice. My last question is, as you think back on the last, I would say probably 5 years or so, if there was anything that is there anything that you would have done differently? And what would that have been?
I would think that, to be honest, I wouldn't do anything differently, because without all those experiences, I'm not who I am right now. And, I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with the experiences I've had. I'm happy with what I know, and it's allowed me to move forward in new directions. There are always going to be mistakes along the way, or at the end of the day, maybe they're not mistakes, maybe they're meant to be, and, they're just a way of learning. But, I mean, to me, I pinpoint one thing that I could say, oh, I would change that or that, because, what if I do change that? Who am I today if I change that moment,
But it becomes a really good lesson learned. It's sort of, as I went through that experience, I had this lesson.
I would say from a lesson standpoint, if we were going to talk about something, I would say, like, all we can do, I mean, the biggest hurdles I've faced as a business entrepreneur is maintaining talent at the shop, people that, were really reliable people leaving. And, I could have maybe treated them better, but at the end of the day, I treated them pretty well in my eyes. But, everyone's going to have their own story to it. So I would say just doing more to keep talent that was really, really good for the shop. That's probably something that if I could have fixed, I would probably try to do that.
Excellent. Don, I think we're out of time, so I'm going to turn it back to you to close us out. But Rohan, I really enjoyed speaking with you today and getting your perspective, and I'm sure our listeners are going to enjoy it.
Thank you. I appreciate the time.
You've been listening to Rohan Duggal. He is the owner of Columbia Wine Company in New York City. You can hear this program and every other past program on foodandwineinsider.com. That's foodandwineinsider.com. To be successful, most restaurant owners require extra capital from time to time. When you need funding to renovate, buy equipment, or manage cash flow, you don't have time to track down financial statements or wait weeks for a decision. That's where Cabbage can help. Cabbage gives small businesses access to a line of credit of up to $200,000. Apply online and you'll get a decision right away. Since Cabbage is a line of credit, you can take the exact amount you need. You never have to reapply to take additional loans, and you'll only pay for the funds you use. Cabbage has helped more than 230,000 businesses from every industry. And with $4 billion in funding, Cabbage is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and was named the Forbes Top 100 Companies twice in a row. Check out Cabbage at cabbagewithak.com/foodandwine, and you'll get a $50 gift card when you qualify. That's KABBAGE.com/foodandwine. Line of credit is subject to credit approval. See terms and conditions. And our next guest is former Boston Patriot great Jarvis Green, who's here to talk about his growing shrimp company. Since you're such a great Patriot fan, and I'm a longtime Jet season ticket holder, he is all yours. Jarvis, welcome to the program, and it's all for you too.
Okay, thank you. How y'all doing?
Good, Jarvis. I'm going to give everybody a little bit of background on you. Jarvis Green was drafted by the New England Patriots as a defensive end in 2002. He's earned 2 Super Bowl rings before he retired in 2010. After several other ventures, he was approached by a friend to get into all things the shrimp business, a business he actually didn't know anything about. And in 2015, he launched Ocean 97. Jarvis, welcome to Food and Wine Insider. I'm originally from Massachusetts. Go ahead, Jarvis.
No, I'm not. I'm from Donaldsonville, Louisiana.
No, I know.
It's in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans.
Yes. No, I was about to say I'm originally Massachusetts, so I'm a passionate Patriots fan.
Oh, great.
Believe we will therefore not talk about this year's Super Bowl. Uh,
Yeah.
what I wanted to talk about is how you transitioned from football to a shrimp business. This is very unusual, as you could have coached, you could have done broadcasting or communications as a former successful player in the NFL. Tell us about the journey that you took that brought you to the shrimp business.
Well, the shrimp business was a little different for me. I know people always ask me, like, you know, was your family into the business from years back when I grew up? And I said, no, we was never into the seafood business. I went to school for construction management, graduated from LSU, 2002. I always did different things, internships, like at Rolls-Royce, Naval Marine in Walpole, Massachusetts. I worked for the Atwell's Restaurant Group, also in Providence, Rhode Island. So I did 4 years of internship while I played football. And I did it in the off season, my time off, my days off, whenever I could, just to do something different, having a plan B or plan C. But then when I retired, I ended up working in North Dakota for about a year. Did some good stuff. Did some, had some I guess, a fallout with some business partners, and then I came back to Baton Rouge, got back into construction. I did that for maybe a year to 2 years, and then one day, a friend of mine, he gave me a call and said, "Hey, Jarvis, my family, we having some problems." And I'm like, "What is it?" He said, "We need some help." And I owed him a favor already, and they was in the seafood industry. So they was in the shrimp business, the family, and they were the Vietnamese co-op. So I was like, "You want me to do what?" He said, "Jarvis, we want you to help us sell shrimp." And I'm like, "Where? Like in Louisiana?" And he said, "No, we wanted you to go back to Boston in the New England area." So this is around 2012, around June, July 2012. And I said, "I don't know anything about shrimp." He said, "Nah, we'll teach you everything." And that's kind of how it started with me into the shrimp business. And I started in October, and I did a 6-month internship with the shrimp company. And I learned everything from the first 2 weeks of washing, cleaning bathrooms, to working on the shrimp line with bringing in the shrimp, deheading the shrimp, deveining, peeling shrimp, freezing shrimp, working with the ice house, filling up all the different containers with shrimp, working on the machines, working on the boats, driving the shrimp across the country. And every day we did a little sales every day until I got the understanding. And from that point on, I was walking and talking like a shrimp. So that's kind of how I got into the shrimp business and into the shrimp industry, because a friend asked me and I owed him a favor.
So is there anything that you think from your experience in the NFL that helped you in terms of becoming a shrimp mogul, basically?
Well, I think more playing with New England, having the success, winning, but, of course, people think we just won, it was easy, but no, perseverance, working through, the ups and downs, working through pain, working through tough situations, and find a way to win. So I think playing for New England, we've been through a lot of those situations. We've been through a lot of adversity. But at the end of the day, we was very successful in winning the games, the big games, not, and I mean, you lose some, you win some. But I think taking that and bringing it to the real world and having the same drive, the same demeanor. Because when I first started, I was working for the company for maybe 2.5, 3 years. But then it came a time that I had to move on, and I said I learned a lot, not a little, but I learned a lot and enough to be dangerous, in the business, but also just learning everything about the ins and outs. Because the thing about the shrimp business is that when you walk into these facilities, a lot of these facility owners, they're in their 50 to 60-year-old. They've been doing this for the last 40 years of their life. They know this business like the back of their hand. So when you walk in there, you got to bring your A game every single time. And I think playing football in New England, we brought our A game every single time, win or lose. That's part of the business, part of the real world. So that really helped me going into the seafood industry.
I think that's a great point in terms of you have to persevere. You have to get through the bad times. Things aren't always perfect. I'm sure sometimes the supply wasn't there, but you made it work. Now, it was a Vietnamese co-op, but ultimately you became, the president and the CEO. How did that happen?
Well, of my business, president, CEO. You talking about with the Vietnamese co-op?
Yes.
Well, I know I was a salesperson when I started off, and I did that for maybe a year, some change. Some things happened. It was so crazy because for me, I was working 20, 24 days, sometimes on the road, away from the office, but I was always still trying to gain more sales, get our name in the market, and pick up retailers. And I remember it came a time that my old boss, something happened, some situation, I can't get into detail, but he disappeared. And when that happened, I was still there. Half of the executive staff or the management staff, they left, took off. And I was a salesperson, became a VP of sales overnight. And really, I could say I almost became a CEO because I had to still deal with all the dealing, day-to-day stuff. But then my old boss, his wife, she was still there, so she was really cutting the checks, and I was still on the road getting deals, and we had the facility still going as far as the employees working. So that was crazy for me, and I did that for maybe 5 months. And from that point on, when my boss got back and he was seeing, he got arrested. So when he got arrested, a lot of people left, a lot of people was panicking, and for me, I had nowhere to go. I was done with construction. This is what I wanted to do. I made my mind up. And I can remember when he came back and he was like, you want to stay with us? I said, yeah. We got sales. We have customers. We have to make sure the customers are satisfied and the business doesn't stop. So he was like, hey, you want the VP job? I said, yep. I said, by time. And we just kept working. But at some point, I had to move on my own, because it got to the point it was too much going on, and that's like when I started Oceans 97 in 2015.
Oh, that's a great story and kind of an amazing experience for you. It's sort of like when your teammates go down and everyone gets injured, you have to really up the game. I'm assuming that Oceans 97 has something to do with your jersey number. How did you come up with the name, which seems so simple, but may in fact reflect so wonderfully on your product?
Well, at first when I started, I had Ocean's Bounty, and then I was trying to get it, trademark, and then somebody had Ocean's Bounty. So when I kept putting up Ocean Bounty, it went to Ocean Beauty, some company in Alaska. And then I had to go back and say, let me figure out something that would stick. And I always was a fan of the Oceans 11, I'm going to go way back to the Rat Pack, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis, and all those guys. And I said, you know what? I got my football number. Let me keep that, because that's going to be something else, going to be a part of me when I played in one of the Super Bowls. And then Oceans, because from Bounty, you got a bounty on whatever it is. You got a bounty on some object. So with the Oceans, I said, Oceans 97. So whatever is in the ocean, I'm going to hit it, catch it, sack it, and sell it. And that's why I came up with the Oceans 97. And it sticks because some people, they go back to, Oceans 11, Oceans 12. So it's not like a difficult, hard word or a hard phrase or whatever you want to call it to remember.
Right. There's even an Oceans 13. So I thought Oceans 97 was perfect. In 2017, you were invited to be on QVC. That's also a great rate. There's probably about 15,000 applications, and only 2 to 3% of the companies get invited. What do you think people really need to know to be able to feature their products on QVC?
At the QVC, that was a tough one. Like you said, the opportunity is very slim to get on TV. And I think with QVC, you have to have a fantastic product, because you have to get through the buyers first. It's not easy. Everything is difficult. Everything is difficult. The process, the things you have to do, because I know for me, we went to QVC, Westchester, got there. I had all my sauces. I had all my different stuff, my finishing stuff to add to it: rice, pasta, baked potato salad. I had eggs. I had some lobster tail. I was going to do a whole cookout for them. And I got there, and this guy came running from the back. And when I say it looked like a war zone, when he was coming from the back running, he was looking for me. And I'm like, Chef. He said, Jarvis. We met, and he took my box. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm about to come and cook with you. He said, no, you can't come cook with us. It's insurance policies. I'm like, damn, okay. So for the next 45 minutes, he took my sauce because he said, why we want you to cook it? You know how to cook it. We need to cook it because we're like, the customers that are sitting on the couch or sitting in their chair watching QVC to see what they're going to buy next. So for 45 minutes, I'm sitting there nervous, tossing and turning. I got my other two guys there with me. They're all cool and all, but I'm like, man, this is my name, my product, And 45 minutes later, he cooked it. The buyers came out. We went and sat in the room, and then from that's when it kind of started. It was like a Shark Tank, show. And they're just dealing you with questions and asking you this and that, and you got to be quick about it, but you have to know your product, and did all that, and then went through the process and had to go back and do the QVC school. I passed the QVC school. And then that's when my air date came up and did that. Now, the thing about the sauces, I think my sauces are different. They're unique. And I think for people, once they start tasting it, they have to, I think at the same time, they have to grow in it. But when they taste it, people, I think when they look at who I am coming from the bayou, people expecting fire, spice, Chianti, just hot. And when they taste it, it's very savory, restaurant-style quality, a lot of umami, earthy, but just it's clean. So when I did the QVC thing, we had a great time. It went well. It's just learning the different things, getting the drop center and getting all your stuff set up and having all the supply chain put together. And I'm not just selling product, but I'm getting product from the shrimp boats. I'm producing sauce in another facility, getting all the boxes, putting it all together. So for me, I learned a lot just in that part of the aspect of the business.
That's a great segue into talking about the items in your line, because you don't just sell plain shrimp, but you have some really particular sauces that bring inspiration to a meal. Why don't you talk a little bit about the different items in your line and the types of sauces that you do have?
So I have a chimichurri. The chimichurri is more of course we know what chimichurri is, more like a Spanish, southern, southwest, South America dish. Not a dish, but it's a topper. They put it on like steaks. So when you go to those different Brazilian steakhouses, you got chimichurri, but it's on the side, and it's a topper, like anything else, like with salad dressing. Even like cocktail sauce, horseradish. That's what it is. But for Ocean 97, I made it more into a sauce, a gravy that you could put on top of your product, and it goes with anything, not just shrimp. It's just that I'm in the shrimp industry, but you get different ways. And the thing about that sauce to the next sauce, the chimichurri, I don't get too much detail into all my trade secrets on what's really in it. But I mean, if you Google chimichurri, we have the basics, then we have some other things that we put in it to give you that heavy umami savoriness. But that's one of the sauces compared to I have garlic butter. We know what garlic butter is. The whipping cream, a lot of garlic, a lot of butter. We try not to put, I ain't gonna say try, we don't. So my ingredients, we don't have scientific words, we don't have alienated words. We have words that the consumer can read. We got words that kids can read and understand. So that's the big thing about, the sauces. From there, we have a New Orleans barbecue. When you say barbecue, people think ribs, St. Louis, Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas, smoked baby back ribs. But the New Orleans barbecue is a sauce that was created 50, 60 years ago. And the founders are Pascal Manelli's, and they got a restaurant called Dini's. They've been fighting for years. And the fight that they've been fighting for is that who created it. Of course, you know how most great sauces are created. It's created by default. Somebody made a mistake. And they put it together. So I have a New Orleans barbecue that we have to just show that southern appeal. And I love New Orleans. I mean, I grew up in a place called Donaldsonville, but to eat the type of quality food, but to get that food into the customer's hand, and you don't have to be in New Orleans to eat it. That's a New Orleans barbecue. And then we have a pomodori, and we have a red gravy. The red gravy, more southern Italian. I'm not Italian. I'm African American. But I think growing up in the New England area, Providence, Federal Hill, Atwells Ave, North End, Boston, it grew on me. I mean, when I go up there now, I'm always in those areas eating great Italian dishes. And then we have the pomodori. That's pomodori, tomatoes, and we have zucchini. We have squash, so it's more like a veggie pomodori. Very savory, very creamy. You can put that on anything as well. So all these dishes that I do have, you can put it on rice, pasta, salad, baked potato. You can cook eggs with it. You can like the chimichurri. You could use it as a marinade, salad dressing. With chicken, beef. So it's very versatile. And I think when people start eating the product more and more, and that they can understand that they can take it and you can add different garnishes to it, different color to it. You can eat it with ramen noodles. It's great for college kids. It's great when you come home. Instead of eating the TV dinner, they got 1,000. No, let me back up. Instead of eating the TV dinner, they have 100 to 150 words on the ingredients deck. We have, product that has 15 to 25 words, the words that you can read. And when people understand that they can get this product, they can go to a local supermarket like a Stop and Shop. We in Stop and Shop now in the Mid-Atlantic. You could go to like a Walmart that we launched in September and get this product that serves two people. I think it's a plus when people understand what they're eating.
Jarvis, I know that John wants to jump in and ask you a question, so I'm going to turn it to John real briefly. Go ahead, John.
The question I was going to ask Jarvis, first, your website, what is your website so people know where they can reach you?
Okay, the website is oceans97.com. OCEANS, the number 97.com.
How did you come up with that number?
Oh, it's just, again, it's the 97, my football number, then oceans, it's going into the ocean, catching it, sacking it, bringing it back, making a play. Ocean 97, make a play on the ocean.
Well, my question is, from your football career, what is it that you learned that you apply to your new career?
Working with a team, having a solid base, working hard. I do have long days. I mean, I did that when I played football. So some of my days sometimes are 17, 18-hour days, going from a sauce plant to the shrimp plant to the boats to the docks. And again, just never giving up. You're down in the fourth quarter. You're down by 2 touchdowns. You got 5 minutes left. It's the same thing. I mean, from the day we started Ocean 97, I mean, I've had less. I've had more crazy, serious, bad days than great days. But it's part of business. It's part of growing. It's part of understanding. But it's also part of taking advantage of your mistakes and moving forward.
It's back to you, Ann. I just had to ask the questions. You have about 3 more minutes.
Okay, very good. Jarvis, you're a national minority supplier diversity chain company. What do you think are the unique challenges to breaking down barriers for a minority-owned company?
I think the biggest thing, I know for Walmart, that's what they love, they support it. That was the first thing they were looking for my company. But the biggest thing is you talk to all these companies. When I went in the door, my thing was I wanted to start off with, 50 stores and grow into the business. And I'm not a huge company. I'm not. And then when you walk in, like my first deal, they gave me 750 stores with the snap of their finger. And from that, they're like, hey, good luck, make it work, make us proud. So that's the biggest thing I think for a small company. And then as you grow and you build your infrastructure up, you wish it could happen overnight, but it doesn't. Walmart, the same thing. I think with Walmart, we're going to launch at 400 to 500 stores. So for a minority company, once I get everything going and get all the people on board and just have that support structure, I think it's going to be a little bit easier, but that's just the process of being a small business.
Right. And where are you distributed today, Jarvis?
So right now we're in Super Stop and Shop, New England, New York. We're in Giant, Martin's, Landover. So we're from like the Mid-Atlantic all the way up to the state of Maine. Right now, that's where we at. So we also work with Dole & Bailey. They're a local purveyor, oldest purveyor in the country, but they're in Woburn, Massachusetts. So we do sell shrimp products to like about 200 restaurants in the Boston area, all the way Albany, New York, to Maine, that we sell shrimp. And the next big thing we have is the Walmart that's in September.
Wow, fantastic. And about how big are your sales at this point? You've done so tremendously well in just a very short amount of time.
Well, I mean, I won't put that out there, but I mean, as far as just having shrimp and, I mean, to date, I mean, I don't know, the last 3 months we probably sold about 70,000, 80,000 pounds of shrimp. I think we have about 40 to 50 people like working, for as strategic partners working in the facilities. So we have been helping people get back to work, local jobs and local economy.
That's a wonderful thing. It's clear you have this great passion for this business, and you literally learned it from the ground up. And you've also had other failed businesses, so you've learned a lot over your experiences.
Oh yeah.
What piece of advice would you give to another budding entrepreneur, especially a woman or a minority owner?
Don't let people tell you that you can't do it. It's impossible. Too small. Because I know for me, when I first started doing the business, Ocean 97, I talked to a lot of big chains. They said I was too small, couldn't do it. You're not ready for this business. I talked to a lot of suppliers. Oh, if you don't know what you're doing, you're in the wrong business. Go back to play football. Or go into construction. I got that so many times. I walk into different facilities. So I think for the next entrepreneur, keep your head up. Don't ever let anyone tell you can't do it. It's impossible. The possible is possible. And keep working. When you make a mistake, write it down. Make sure never to make that same mistake again. And just keep moving forward. Have patience, but trust in yourself, because no one else will do that. If you're the CEO of the company, that's your company. You're going to have long days, long nights. That's part of it. If you want to build, you can stay a small company, stay comfortable, or you can go and try to knock some big doors down. But when you do that, it's going to take some effort, some time, and some sacrifice.
I think that's amazing advice, not only for business but for life. And so I really appreciate your having shared that. Don, do I have time for another question, or are we out of time?
No, unfortunately not. Ann, Jarvis, your website again, and how people can reach you?
The website is oceans97.com, OCEANS97.com. I also have social media. I have Instagram, The Real Jarvis Green, Oceans97, Facebook, Jarvis Green, Ocean97, Twitter, Jarvis Green, and I have my LinkedIn account, Jarvis Green. Pretty easy.
I won't wish your team good luck, but Jarvis, thank you so much for joining us. I'll leave that to Ann.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jarvis. I really appreciate talking with you, and all the best of luck as you continue to build the business, and I hope it continues to be extraordinarily successful for you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day, and go Patriots.
Amen.
You have been listening to Ann Daw and myself talking with Jarvis Green, who the former New England Patriot great, is now the owner of Oceans 97 Shrimp. You can hear this program and every past program on foodandwineinsider.com.
You've been listening to Food and Wine Insider with Ann Daw and Don Mazzella. Want to join us on a future show? Contact us at foodandwineinsider.com. Food and Wine Insider.